the first day when me and Sidhu went to narrated the script to Rana, he greenlit the project in 20 minutes.
For me, it's always been content first. I mean, that story will tell you where it has to be. Right? Earlier, I used to do that with the language. Now I do that with platform also. Whenever the theaters open back, I have films ready. We have Hathi ready. I have Virat Parvam ready. In that way, I am prepped whenever everything opens. So I've taken the route of animation now for this season.
Hello, Rana and Ravikanth. Welcome to Film Company South.
Hi, Baradwaj. Hi.
Rana, I thought you'd be wearing a T-shirt that says SP or something like that. I'm very disappointed.
Hey, just a start.
So let me ask you, both as producer and as director of Krishna and his Leela, does it feel a little weird to have a film launched and not tracking Friday box office and things like that?
Ravi first, I guess.
Go ahead. I mean, you're the big man. Go ahead.
No, you first. I do a lot of things all over the place, so you go first.
No, I think I'm very happy
Classic.
that the film is on OTT platforms. It's releasing on Netflix because it's a new normal now, and I think we have to adapt to the situation.
Okay.
It's a tough time, but I think it has a bigger release than theater, so that way more people are getting to watch my film.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what was it like when Shanam was released and versus when this is released? Because that's like a theatrical.
Yeah. So yeah, Shanam was a different story, and it has some intensity to it. So it was good watching it in a theater, and I missed watching this film in a theater. But I guess, I think, like I said, we have to adapt to it.
Right. So how did you and Rana get together on this project?
Actually, I wanted to make a film with Rana soon after Kshanam, but we couldn't do that for some different reasons. And we were looking at doing another film where he wanted to produce something with me. So I wanted to make a small film again, which is light-hearted in nature. Then, like the previous one, a thriller it was. So yeah, the first day when me and Sidhu went to narrated the script to Rana, he greenlit the project. I mean, in 20 minutes, I guess.
Okay, Rana, what did you connect to in whatever they narrated? What was the thing that said, yes, I need to do this?
See, first the film, if you've seen the trailers and others, says based on true rumors.
Right.
The idea was whether it's me or anybody that I know, right? Most people have had a situation like this in their lives and they relate to it very, very fast. So when Ravi and Sidhu came and told me this idea, well, it's something that I've seen many times in my life a little bit and in others. Okay. So I said, okay, now this is something enough, and there's a modern pop culture youth that will connect to this.
Okay.
And there you go. I think we somewhere got it right in the place that we wanted it with the OTT. I think this is the world it had to go to. What I've also started seeing is because it's on Netflix, it's content that's kind of globally relevant. It's a slice of life in India. It's a slice of life in South India. This is how love stories are, and this is how simple the culture is, right? And it's not only a Telugu film now. It just makes it more relevant to a global scenario.
So you're saying that having it out on Netflix makes it like any foreign film, let's say, where you don't have to worry about it reaching out to whether there are enough Telugu speaking people in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana to watch it. You can just put it out into the world, and the numbers will come from there.
Yeah.
What we also have is in a week from now, it will also be on AHA. A week or 10 days from now, we'll just confirm when that date is. And that's more a regional platform. That's a complete Telugu play. So, there's going to be more specific marketing and other things towards the Telugu community and the AHA subscribers.
Okay. So do you see, I mean, Ravikanth just used the word new normal. Do you see a world where people who want to make, again, to use his words, small films will naturally go to OTT, and then the only thing that will be left in theaters, well, if and when they open, are the Bahubalis and the other things?
If you look at how films are there in the West, probably that is the scenario there. A lot of films there, only the spectacles like Marvel films or Christopher Nolan's films are getting a theatrical release. But I don't know if Tenet is getting a theatrical release though. Yeah. So that way, I think the trend is, I mean, I see something going there, but I don't think our native audience here are used to going to theaters and watching films there for festivals and everything. So I think it will take some more time for us to adapt to that situation. But I personally feel that it's going somewhere there. The big spectacles are for theaters, and films like these, films like everyday dramas and slice of life films will have an OTT release.
Because they will play better at home, you're saying?
Yeah,
Two things, right? See, for me, it's always been content first. I mean, that story will tell you where it has to be, right? Earlier, I used to do that with the language. Now I do that with platform also. Uh, and now if it's a story that I want to know the characters more, I want more drama out of it. I can see now this story is a story that I can extend and keep going.
Right.
Sidhu is still there, the character of Krishna is still there, all the characters are still there in their lives. Now, if I want to continue OTT, if Ravi is interested in it, the characters are still alive, they can keep going on. There's nothing stopping it. Unlike anything that would be in the spectacle space. See, correctly, like how Ravi mentioned, I think the West has taken that to becoming a normal where spectacle or big star films are in theaters and the rest of it is parked on OTT. And I think that's industry has also matured a lot in the OTT world. I mean, they've been around doing this stuff for a while. And I'm saying hopefully now we'll see content that's out here.
Okay, so Rana, Suresh Productions has for the longest time, it's been there for what, 50 years now?
Yeah, 55 now.
Yeah, but of late, you've had your either whether it's as a producer or whether it's a distributor or whether it's both. We've seen Suresh Productions being involved in films like Peli Chupulu, Ina Grand Came, and the Care of Kansara Palam and all these movies. How this move? How did it come about? Was it like a decision based on the usual decisions like profits and whether this movie will play well, or whether was it like something that you wanted to nurture in the Telugu space because there's nothing like it really?
It's always been traditionally there, and it was always done in parts. It's when my grandfather or my father didn't find that big story to happen, they used to do a lot of small films together. And that's been my grandfather's way of building the company right from scratch, even before Venki became an actor, that is. Post that, I think, in the last 5-6 years, it started with films like Ashta Chamma and all of that, where Nani was the actor in that film, then Uyala Jampala, where Raj Tarun was in it. And then consecutively with Pelli Choopulu, with all of these films, we realized the cost is not extremely high if you keep everything in control. And because we had a distribution network then, which was helping us able to release this film. So usually, unlike Bombay Bombay, where the P&A is extremely high to get into a theater, Telugu that was far more comfortable in that sense. So we just started taking pieces of these and finding correct release dates and going forward. But I think today OTT has kind of become that door where that's a great place to find content, nurture content. I'm saying whether it's Nani, Vijay Deverakonda, Raj Tarun, all of them kind of came from this cinema. And now today Sidhu, who's so brilliant in this film, I think he's been pretty exceptional. So I think this is the way for us as a company going forward, where we'll keep making these films and that will really mount the direction of the talent that will be with us.
So are you saying that today, if a Pelli Choopulu released, it would be a better fit for an OTT kind of platform?
See, hard to say that because I think OTT is also still are very new in India. I think we'll take those 2-3 years to kind of figure out here, this is our lifestyle, this is the way we consume content. I think it'll take a little while. See, in the West, it's slightly more mature than where we are. See, like I realized if you're like Netflix, when I was talking to them during this film, right, we realized unless this film is globally relevant, it's not going to really make a dent there because it's not like it's got 50 or 100 Telugu films. It's more international in its storytelling in nature. So I think somewhere for us as filmmakers, it's aspirational. It helps us make our film get better and better with all the questions Netflix asks. So and we get to learn, and I think that's the way going forward for at least content which is like this.
Okay, Ravikanth, one of the things that struck me when I saw the film was how different the treatment of this film's theme, which is basically a man, like undecided between two women, is from the earlier films, like let's say Alari Mogudu, which is like a much bigger commercial. It's in a commercial space, right? So whether when you have these big industries, there is a tendency to kind of treat the hero's predicament in a comical way, exaggerate it, put him in all kinds
Yeah.
of situations that the audience will find funny, and this can also lead sometimes to a slightly misogynistic territory. Whereas I thought what was really interesting for you in this film was how the women were treated with utter respect, and the complications arose from a very genuine place. Not they were not like dramatic twists or something like that. You break up, you find another person, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think the audience has changed, or do you think that directors that make movies now have changed?
Okay, so I can speak for myself. For this film, in regards to this film, I took a very utmost care of not showing the women as dumb or like basically bimbos, if I can use that word.
Yeah.
But I took care in that because I wanted them to stand for their integrity, and modern Krishnas don't exist in in today's life.
Right.
So I wanted them to stand up for their integrity, and I picked up problems and little hurdles along the screenplay from that point of view.
No, but I'm saying even the sensibility, you could have kind of pushed it towards okay, maybe the audience needs to laugh a little more or something like that. You basically resisted all that and stayed very close to the journey of the story. So that's what I was so that
Yeah, because
sensibility where you're saying that I'm kind of, this is what I need to say. I'm not going to do any kind of commercial padding. This is exactly how I'm going to go about it.
That's where I think my expression comes from, because there are films like this. There are triangular love stories revolved around this plot: one man and two women.
Yeah.
And I believe that it can happen to any woman as well. It's not just man. A woman can have this confusion with two women. I mean, two men, and women too. Why not? So, yeah.
So
I think I found my expression there, that I wanted every character to take stand for themselves, and that's where I wanted to explore this genre, because it's very easy to judge characters in this kind of a space.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
to
So
me
I
also
wanted,
that was the first thing when Ravi came and told me this whole story. Right? I mean, we were seeing many things. You've seen the Allar Mogadus, all of these two heroines, three heroines type of films. Then you graduated into complex love stories, whether it's Arjun Reddy or anybody who's being deep. I was like, guys, there's simple guys who get confused lives, right?
Yeah.
And this was just that story. And everyone's nice people, everyone's right. See, somewhere it had a loose Sound of Music idea where everyone's correct, but it's a situation that kind of drops you there.
Yeah.
I think that came across very well in the way Ravi wrote it. And it was real. This could happen to you, it could happen to me, it could happen to your friend. And I remember every time I got the trailer ready and I was showing it to people, everybody goes saying, I know somebody like this, right? And that's the first thing. I know exactly someone like this. So I think that's really the reason why this film came to life.
Okay.
I think the relatability factor came from that point, because we wanted this to be everyone's life, not just someone with a great privilege or anything. Yeah. So let's move forward.
Just since we talked about Allari Mogudu, do you think that there is still a space for that kind of movie, or is that no longer there?
100%. See, the thing is, all kinds of cinema will always be there. There is, as long as, because it's so diverse, right? See, and especially now, because we're trying to figure out things in the theater business, every town is different. Every two streets you go is different.
Yeah.
So, like the minute you go to a Vijayawada, the minute you go even down to towns, you go to Guntur, you go to, so I realized you need all kinds of films to make this happen. You need Allari Mood type of films, you need Houseful 4. That was actually my exercise for Houseful 4. My father was very happy when I did that film. He said, now you'll understand some sense of what people enjoy. So I think it's also very important to just get that India is very wide and diverse, and we need to find where that cinema sits and for whom it sits.
And position it accordingly on the distribution.
Correct.
Way. Okay, correct.
Right. See, not one film is okay for everybody.
Right. In 1989, when Ram Gopal Verma did Shiva, that was seen as like a huge path-breaking thing that happened in Telugu cinema. The realism, the grittiness, the violence, the way it was, things were shown. After that, would you say that this current crop of filmmakers that are making films is the first major quantum shift in Telugu cinema since that happened? Like as a group, I'm saying.
100%. I remember this. I know this very clearly because I can speak for the last 10 years for sure because I've been around fully. When I did my first film, Leader, then I did a film called Damarodam. That was my second. I was trying to find genre cinema. I was trying to find filmmakers like this. It was nothing. I never got stories like that. It was always this guy is in college. He's teasing this girl. This happens, and that guy is. That's like, dude, that's enough, right? But now I just feel so happy with guys like Ravi or Nagi or Tarun Bhaskar. All of them were here. At least there's a volume of them now. Earlier there was one Shekhar Kamala, one Krish, and then they made films once in 5 years or something, and that's about it. Didn't have enough people to work with. So I think now is a great time for whether it's filmmakers or for actors. You can democratically tell whatever story you want to tell, and there's an audience out there. See, like today we're watching Spanish stuff, we're watching Mexican films. I just watched a African gangster film. I don't even know which language it's really made in, but so I think it's time where we can tell our stories to the rest of the world if we just crack that right way of storytelling.
I think he's right. I completely agree with him. Yeah, I share the same kind of perspective on it.
So in the middle between Ram Gopal Varma and now, you had the odd Hyderabad Blues. You had the odd, like you said, the Shekhar Kamala movies. But that didn't really snowball into, they were just one-off kind of things. They didn't really snowball into like a movement kind of thing. Why do you think that did not happen at that point in time?
See, I think first in Telugu, right? I think that was the years where it was growing from a small industry to becoming a large-scale industry. There were bigger heroes coming. There were 10 big heroes it had. There were 15 big heroes it had. And everybody experiments big. They make big stuff. They make Arundhati. They make Magadhira. Nobody does small things here. And that's pretty much how it kind of went. And I think that helped a large way because the scale that Telugu has between these two states now, Andhra and Telangana, is far greater than any of the languages put together in one single community, right? I think those were the years that led to that growth, but didn't lead to an alternative growth. It was always the Tamil films, the Tamil directors who got us that alternate cinema. Bala's films used to be dubbed, Balasar's films. There's other, so that was the independent place, and this was the mainstream big place, right? So I think now the filmmakers are breaking out. There are more voices, and I think and see also now there's the actors are completely different. Everybody wants to tell different stories. Exposure has changed, so I think it's a different time, right? I think it's pretty awesome to see cinema like this flourish well in Telugu.
Right, but what do you think is the reason? Is it because actors are willing to experiment? What is it that's happening now that did not happen in, let's say, Shekhar Kamala's time?
There's a lot more screens that are programming got better in terms of earlier. A lot of screens were owned by many independent people, so they always wanted big cinema. But the minute there were companies and structures that were built around theaters, all of this cinema got a nice space for it. You could program them interestingly and independently. Then the second part was, I think, just curbing the fact where P&A was held back well. I think that is the real reason why everything got back, right? And Telugu is able to experiment a lot more. See, if you realize, Telugu has always been a very cautious industry in terms of success and money and in terms of profitability, right? As opposed to any other industry, even till today. I don't see a producer in Telugu that will start a film if it's not breaking even, or they don't even go that direction of thought. So I just feel like it's always been a conservative place, and today that conservative player can play because there is OTT, there is also publicity that's so much cheaper than any other state.
You keep bringing this up, but why is it that the print and publicity and advertising in Telugu is so much low? I mean, is it just because people don't need to spend? The awareness is already so high?
See, one is, I think the council has been very strong in the beginning of capping these films, because there was a point where all the big films took a larger part of the hoardings when outdoor was much bigger, right? As big as television it was at one point. And the smaller film didn't get the TV space or the billboards. So then they kind of came with a metrics where whether it's a big film or a small film, that's the number of billboards you get, that's the number of television space you get. So that kind of somewhere held a small filmmaker and a big filmmaker saying, here you go, this is all you need. And we realized you don't need more than that for publicity, right? See, I just think Bombay's gone like some other number. It's gone. Now, see, if I make this film and have to release it in Bombay, I'll have to spend 14 or 15 crores to even land up in a theater, which you don't even know what that means, right? So it kind of curbs a lot of small content from coming out. So I think this is why the real shift is happening now.
Okay.
And also in terms of filmmaking, I feel that the way the technology is, it's made easy for everybody to make films, but I think the storytelling aspect of it has become more important today. So I think they're presenting their stories well and in a versatile manner. If I
Okay. Now, where would you place an Arjun Reddy in this continuum? Because what really was fresh in that movie was the treatment of the character, the the his language, the things that he did, the there was no censorship on the sexual expression. But if you look at the story itself, was more like a slightly old-fashioned story about a guy pining for a woman. It's a Devdas kind of story. So,
yeah.
when you look at an Arjun Reddy along this continuum, would you say it's freed up a lot of like, for instance, I see a lot of characters saying "fuck" in your film. Is that something that Arjun Reddy did that liberated and showed that the audience was not going to be grossed out by certain kinds of behavior? Did that movie help accomplish that?
No,
100%.
not really. I mean,
Do you think so?
to me,
I think it was just a boldness, and you could just make a bold film in Telugu. I think that it kind of broke and said, "Listen, you can do whatever you want." But here, the usage of language or any of that didn't juxtapose to that. It was just a slice of life, right? It was
Right. No. I'm not saying that it was definitely something that these people would have spoken or whatever it is. But let's say even in Shiva, right? Like Nagarjuna was a college student, and people were saying fucking things like that. So, but you couldn't say it because you wanted family audiences and you didn't want to turn them away and things like that. So, but when Arjun Reddy broke out like that, I'm saying, did it like give a message that, listen, like, people don't care anymore because this audience is different?
From a writing perspective, I think I've written the characters and the way they use their language from the world I've seen.
Right.
So yeah. So I don't know if Arjun Reddy really helped me in this process, but
Yeah.
I think I wanted to keep the language real in the space that the characters are in an urban setup in Vizag, and I am from Vizag, so
Right.
these are the people that I might have met in my life, and the language that they've used. So I picked up nuances from there, and I wanted to make it as real as possible. The reality that I saw.
Right. No, definitely, because the reason I ask is because there are some young Tamil filmmakers who either get prepared for the censor board to beep out these words, or they just like don't use these words because they're saying they don't want to get messed up with because it's going to aggravate the censor. So I just said, that was where I was coming from, rather than the authenticity. Of course, it is authentic.
I don't mind a beep. I don't mind a beep at all.
Okay.
See, so but the thing with Indian censors, right, it's always so iffy.
Right.
It's not like it's standardized across India. It's like Bombay can use something, Hyderabad can't use something. So there's no standardization. So we also don't know where to go. I think that way OTT is just a boon that way. Just here you go. This is what you do in life. Pick it up and put it there.
I won't have that smoking cards and the drinking cards for OTT. So that way
you're really happy, right? Yeah, you don't have that.
That's really happy. You don't have the smoking card and drinking card.
Yeah,
and the stress of not building the screenplay up until first half and make it look like two climaxes.
Yeah. So you don't have to. But had this been a theatrical film, where would you have had the interval block?
The interval block was when Radha breaks up with him when she finds Satya's photos.
The phone, the stuff on his encrypted folder on his phone. Okay. Yeah. But again, that's so muted, right? It's like it's not some da 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 kind of
Yeah, I wanted silence because the awkwardness is better on when it's left on silence, because it leaves up to your imagination.
Right. Rana, when you heard the script and when you read it, did you have any inputs? I mean, do you do that kind of stuff, or yours is just the kind of, okay, I like what they're doing, I like their sensibility, I'm just going to let them do whatever they want to do?
Well, the only inputs I had was incidents that happened in my life. I just kept dropping by and giving them thoughts.
Okay.
It's only food for thought like that, but otherwise it was completely them in terms of creative process, and they just kept bringing me stuff from once they edit, and then just discussions here and there. It's really it's all them. And
now
I think Sidhu has been a great partner for me in writing this film because he has a natural flair for dialogue, and it was good because he was acting at the spot when we were writing, so we got all the nuances right to put Krishna in that very thin line spot.
Okay, okay, okay. To wrap up, when we are facing a situation right now where we don't know when theaters are going to open. Uh, as a director and as a producer, how is each one of you preparing to face the months and possibly even maybe a year ahead?
See, one is I'm just a creator here, so I said let's just find any way to create stuff and just keep going till that time is done. Uh, for whenever the theaters open back, I have films ready. We have Hathi ready. I have Virata Parvam ready. So I know in that way I am prepped whenever everything opens. So I've taken the route of animation now for this season. So I have a talk show coming up. I have a bunch of other things coming up, and I realize now in the next 6 months, animation is the only thing you can go high quality in.
Yeah.
So I have a talk show that I'm putting together, which will be out soon, and I also have a bunch of a music video, a bunch of features, all in the animation space though. So that's what's going to happen in the next 6 months, I guess. But yeah, once things are back and ready, I think it'll just be a greater and a better time for us. I think there's enough of writing happening for the first time at volumes, at scale in every industry, and I think that's really it's just prepping us for a better future, I think.
Yeah.
You said
I don't
an
think
animated talk show.
Yes, sir. I'll send you some stuff soon.
Okay, how does it work? What is an animated talk show?
It's a talk show. It's animated, so you can be wherever you want, whatever you want, say whatever you want. It's pretty random. It's irrelevant. It's adult.
Who are the people? Oh, who are the people on the
Yeah.
talk show?
I'm going to get back after Krishna and Leela. That's my next project. So I'm going to talk to you again.
Okay, cool. Ravikanth, tell me.
Yeah, I think if not for COVID, I wouldn't have written so much because I usually, I feel a little difficult to start off writing. So I think I'm spending time writing most of the time, hoping that things will come back to normal and we can make the films again.
Good. So good luck to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah.